Hi everyone, so today I wanted to share with you guys how I fix a broken, snapped off Monster High limb. So this can be done on legs, arms, wrists, so any points of articulation on a Monster High doll that might have snapped off. So today I have my first edition Toralei. I just got her at the flea market yesterday, and I didn't know when I bought her that she had a snapped limb, and that's because she had a piece of electrical tape wrapped around her arm, and for some reason I didn't see it. So when I got home and I saw the tape, I knew right away, uh-oh, Toralei must have broken, and that's how the child who owned her before me repaired her. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but basically the peg that inserts into her forearm here snapped off inside the forearm. So there is no way to now attach the arm. So how do you fix this? Well, a replacement arm isn't going to help because the peg hole has a peg inside it. It's not easy to get like a whole Monster High body, and this is perfectly serviceable if I can reattach this limb. So that's what I'm going to show you today. And this is actually my first time doing this, but I have seen a lot of other people do similar things, and I've repaired certain limbs in other ways, so I have good faith that this is going to work. I am going to link the tutorial I referenced right before making this in the description if you want to see like the original method that I kind of based this off of. But I've seen tons of similar tutorials like this. I think the first one I watched was several years ago, and it was fixing like the knee joint on a Monster High doll. And also the same method my dad used to fix my childhood horse. So this is Ginger. I've had this little guy since I was maybe 2 years old. I got him at the Salvation Army, and I used to play with him so much that his leg snapped off, and just gluing it in place did not work. I would always break it again. So my dad used the same method of inserting a metal pin into his leg here. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that. So he wouldn't fall apart, and he's probably been fixed like this for 20 years, and he's still holding up good. If you need to fix a horse, you can fix them this same way. The basic technique is that you insert some kind of metal pin or rod into one end of the broken piece, and then you join it with the other. And there's a few different ways that you can do this. You can drill into the doll. I'm not going to be doing that because I don't feel as comfortable using a drill, but if you do have a drill and you think it would work better, feel free to try that out. I've seen other people do that. Or you can use the hot, like heating up the rod on a candle and inserting it that way. So I'm going to show you the supplies. So for my particular technique that I'm choosing to do, I need wire cutters, pliers, some kind of candle, I have tea light here, something to protect the surface, obviously matches to light the candle, and a paper clip. Now, the video that I linked below, the person used one of the coated paper clips and they just stripped the coating, but you can totally skip that step if you have like an already just plain metal paper clip and you want it to be like of a decent thickness. You can also use just regular wire if you have any, some kind of nail or pin if you have that. Even maybe like a sewing needle would work if it was thick enough. So that's totally up to you, but any kind of like metal rod is just something metal that you can insert that will fit into the doll's arm. And you can see here what I mean about Toralei's little piece being snapped. You can see here on Ginger where his leg was repaired. Now you can also glue this in place after, but I personally am not going to be doing that because I want the doll to have rotation in her arm still. Now before I actually repair her, I want to show you another really quick trick so this doesn't happen to you. Now I studied Toralei, wondering why she broke, and I think I figured out the reason. And basically on some dolls their joints lock up so they don't have this free movement like Toralei's good arm over here and like her wrist. So this little piece in here where the peg broke does not move. It's like locked into place. I have encountered this problem on several of my brand new Monster High dolls. My Power Ghouls Toralei, my Skull Shores Draculaura, and this problem also happens on like non-Mattel dolls. Like I've had Moxie girls with this problem where their arm freezes up at the shoulder. I've had this happen on really old Barbies. It's very common in the mod era. dolls from the 70s. So my mod hair Ken, all of his limbs were frozen. My sister's Malibu Skipper, her legs were frozen, and the twist and turn waist mechanism on Barbies can also freeze up. This happened on my Dream Date PJ, and it's a really, really easy fix. And that's why I wanted to talk about it really quickly, so that you don't break your doll trying to get them to move. If they're locking up on you, if their movement isn't the best, please do not try to like bend them really harshly or like move their leg or anything to get them to move, because you can break it. And once it's broken, even if you can somehow fix it, it's never going to be as strong as it was when it was originally repaired, like the way it originally was. So my dad kind of came up with this idea, and I modified it a bit to be a bit more friendly for dolls. But basically you grease up the limb. He used some kind of like motor oil or something. Please don't use that. That stuff is loaded with chemicals, and it smells really bad, and it's like black, and it's probably gonna like leave marks on your doll. So I like to use just regular baby oil. Basically, I'll demo it on Toralei really quick. If your doll is locking up, you want a Q-tip, and you'll want to get a generous amount of baby oil on the Q-tip, and where the like mechanism or the joint is, you want to really get the oil in there. Now this is a process that takes a little bit of patience, and you might think it's not working at first, but basically you're gonna oil it up, and then you're gonna like slowly try to move the joint, and you're gonna want to do this little by little, and you're just gonna want to keep applying it and wiggling it, and you'll start to feel it slowly loosen. Keep applying the oil, keep moving it slowly, and it'll free up. Okay, so first and foremost, you're gonna need to straighten out your paper clip or like prepare your piece of wire. So you don't need a ton of it. So I'm just gonna cut off like 1.5 inches here. I'm gonna have a little bit of extra, so this is where the wire cutters come in handy. And I'm gonna end up trimming this down, but if you leave a little more than you think you'll need, you'll have extra space to manipulate the wire. And using my pliers, I'm gonna hold the like paper clip in place and just hold it over the flame so that it gets nice and hot. And you can see here how it's like turning black. That's what you want. You want it to heat up, because what it's gonna do is the metal is gonna heat up, and it's gonna become more pliable, and when it makes contact with your doll, it's going to make the plastic more pliable. So you're gonna heat it up, and this is, again, something that's gonna take a lot of repetition. And once it's hot, you're gonna find where you want the thing to go, and you can see it steaming, and you're gonna work the pin in there. So basically right now you're trying to make a hole that the pin is going to live in. And you're just gonna keep repeating the process, keep holding it and heating it up. Don't hold this wire with just your hand, because you could burn yourself. Once you feel like you've gotten that hole, you're going to repeat it over here. And if you feel like you need to kind of make a point, you can do that too. I feel like if I kind of sharpen up this end a bit, it might make my life easier. I managed to make the hole in the arm, and the pin is in here really good now. This is the harder piece to get the pin into, and you know how I rolled it up earlier? You can see her arm now has movement, and very good movement. So now the last part is to reattach this arm to the pin. So we're going to want to trim this down significantly. I'm going to trim it down a little bit more. Oop, maybe like 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to heat it up again, and I'm just going to insert it. Basically, a pretty good way of figuring out how long you should do it is maybe to kind of compare the size of this pin and maybe do it a little bit shorter. And I wanted to show you really quickly the benefit of like making the post a little bit shorter, because Monster High clothes, as you know, have very tiny armholes, and sometimes the armholes can't go over the hands and you have to remove the hands. I've always preferred to like disarticulate the Monster High dolls at the elbows because I feel like that post is a little bit stronger and I'm not as likely to break it if it has trouble going in or coming out. So this comes out pretty easily, and I prefer it that way because if I wanted Toralai's arms to come out so I could dress her in other clothes, like with this one the armholes are wide enough, but just for the sake of argument, I can dress her really easily. So that is something you could definitely consider if you are fixing a Monster High doll and you want them to wear other clothes, like basically have the option to wear anything. Maybe don't glue the post in place because it stays in. This arm on Toralai stays in pretty good, but it also pops out nice and easy. This is Toralai's arm. It is fully functional. It can spin around. She can bend it now, just like the other one. Voila! I hope this video helped you guys out. Toralai is as good as new, and she has all of the function that she would have had she not broken, which is great. There are a lot of ways to fix arms and legs on Monster High dolls, so definitely do your research. And I'll, like I said, leave a link to the original video I based this off of down below. And I will have a written tutorial on my Flickr too if you want to read the steps. And until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, and love your life. And say bye, Toralai. I'm glad to be fixed.